What's up, Dragon Ball Super Family? I'm Legends Kick. I'm here with Johnathen Lanza, who just placed. What'd you place, man, this weekend?
7.
At this regional up here in Kissimmee, Florida.
Kissimmee?
Yeah,
Kissimmee.
Kissimmee, Florida. What'd you play this weekend, man?
Pan, good old Pan. The same
Yeah.
thing I've been playing for, 3 months now.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What were your matches like this weekend?
So I played 2 Prisms, which was pretty easy, not too bad. I just had hand advantage the whole time with the new build. I played a Soul Striker Goku, which is the one I lost to. Of course, blue. Hate blue. Geez, what else did I play against? I played against 2 Pan Mirrors. I did pretty good in both of those. And then I played a Gohan match, I'm pretty sure. And those, I won that one pretty handily, because that's never really been a struggle for me. Because you just play Dabura, draw 3 cards. It's pretty lit.
That's pretty awesome. So what would you say is your hardest matchup this weekend?
My hardest matchup? Probably the Pan Mirrors, honestly. Just because it depends on what your hand looks like, what your opponent's hand looks like, whether you go first or second really determines how you play. And there's so many like little things where you're constantly going back and forth, and one slip up can really cost you by like 5-10 combo power, and then you just lose. It really sucks, but it's a fun matchup.
That's cool, man. All right, let's talk about this deck profile. Launch right in.
Alright, so first things first, we're going to start with the best card in the deck now, the new Pan promo from the anniversary box. This card is cracked. Most of the times you get it down on turn 2, you draw 2 cards, kill something. It's super useful. It's a 20k. A lot of times it's a must-kill target for the opponent, so they'll constantly be targeting it with all of their removals, so having multiple in hand isn't a bad thing, but you don't necessarily need them all the time. It's just a useful tool, and it allows you to draw more cards on your opponent's turn, which is something I'll get into with the other stuff in the deck that I like. So there's 4 of these guys, and we got 4 of the child, the second child. So we got 4 Gotens, cards cracked, turn 3, pay 1 mana, draw 2 cards. Then you have a 20k double striker, or if you have extra energy, you can pay 1, neg something 20. So you can kill an SCR with these 2 cards for 3 energy, or if this is already out, for 2 energy. And then you awaken, untap 1. It's super useful, super good. This deck is very good at killing SCRs, which is why I normally never have a problem with them. So that's one of the nice things about it. So unless it has barrier or some kind of protection, this deck can normally kill it pretty smoothly. And then of course it also becomes a 25k if you tap it, so it gets a super combo out, maybe something a little extra. Next, we got 4 United Emotions. Obviously the card's just a staple. It's a turn 1 play, turn 2 play, draws a card. It also helps against, I saw some people citing in BMS against Pan, so you just play this, and since it's not played by a skill and it's just reduced, you don't have to lose any hand size, and you can just start swinging with 20ks, get a card from the top and a draw from your leader, so not bad. 1 for 2s is basically the whole point of the deck. Just paying 1, getting 2 cards is kind of like the whole deal. Speaking of paying 1, drawing 2, here's another card, Pan Wisher of Miracles. It's really nice. It negs 10, which is good because a lot of the times, a lot of decks nowadays will have cards that they don't want to attack with, so they'll keep something standing. Like if you're going against Fu, for instance, they have that 1Z card where it can't be removed, but it's always standing because they're never going to attack with it. So you just neg it at the end of the battle, kill it, and that gets rid of a little bit of their value. And this is also another 1 for 2, which is nice. The one thing that I really like about this is, unlike the Goten, the draw is no matter what. So even if they counterplay it, you still draw the card. So no matter what, you're getting 1 card back out of it. So that's nice. Next, 4 monkeys. You need your monkeys. Always 4 monkeys. This card is cracked. People seem to forget about it. They combo to 15. You play this. You combo out. You draw a card. So you lost 0 hand size. You have a 20k on the field now. And if they attack with another 15, now they have to go to 20 at least, because you just combo this away and you get out of 2 attacks for 0 cards in hand, literally.
Oh, it's very efficient.
It's super efficient, super good, and it goes into the whole combo with this card. It's just having more and more stuff to play on your opponent's turn, so at any point, if they try to do something, you have the ability to gain value off of this and just neg something completely off of their board. So that's the whole point of how I've built this deck nowadays, is just to make it as efficient and good as possible on both players' turns. And then obviously, got 4 of the best super combo. Love this super combo, always have, always will. I will never run the Beerus because Beerus is unsearchable off of the top 5er from the Pan United Emotions. This is, and it's very useful. A lot of the times you're always going to go to 4 life anyways, so it's never really an issue of, oh, I can use Beerus now versus I can't use this now. I haven't really found that issue to be a big problem. Plus, cycling in this deck is really important because sometimes you just get too many of the same card, especially since a lot of these cards are limit 1 plays. If they get countered or you already played one this turn, you don't need 2 in hand, so you can get rid of 1, hopefully get some new plays, because you want to spam out as many 1-drops as possible, so that way you can aggro down your opponent, even through like something like a Floodgate or the Z charging effect of the green extra card. Next, some new stuff. Now that we've kind of shied away from Super Saiyans, we got Gamma 1 and 2. Originally, I was biased against this card due to the fact that I was trying to keep it more Saiyan aligned, so that way everything was searchable and hittable off of the 2-drop Goku, or the 4-drop Goku, let me correct myself. But I no longer run that card, so I never have to worry about milling my super combos, my SCR, or any non-targets like any extra cards or super combos, or I already said super combos, but you get the gist. It's just to prevent inconsistencies and prevent myself from losing the game surely off of bad luck and milling my SCR. This way I always have the chance of seeing my SCR and beating my opponent with that, or just beating them out in value. Plus this card's cracked. You pay 1, draw 2 cards, and your leader or whatever card you have gets 10,000 power for the turn. Once again,
for the battle, my bad. With this card, you draw 3 cards, gain 10k for the battle, neg something 20k. So you kill an attacker, get out of an attack for 1 energy, and you draw 3 cards. So I spent 1 card, and I gained 2 cards on my opponent's turn. I've been thinking about upping this card to 4, just because it's so useful, but it has its restrictions, and the fact that you have so many other cards that require energy to play on your opponent's turn, such as this, or Gohan, or the Pan, it kind of makes it a little iffy. So maybe throw the Pan down to 3, throw this up to 4. It just depends on what you're looking at, what you like better, and so on. Next, love these guys. They're super useful against early plays. So if you got a big early guy, like if you go against Prism, for instance, you have that big 30k that they can slap down on turn 3 now due to the new Z card that they can do for free. It's a 30k, you just slam this down, you attack, you kill their 30k easily. And it'll be a 25k most of the time against their leader, which will be a 20k from the 8-drop. So you're already above them, so now they're having to give more cards out of hand. If you're lucky, they'll throw away another 30k because it's a 0 for 10 for them. So you're getting double value out of that there. Not to mention, it's just a useful card. It's nice because this one isn't a limit one. The neg effect is, but the actual playing it isn't. So if you play your, let's say your Z card, and you give it 20,000 power, you can place this on top of it. This is now a 40k swing. So you gave 3 40k swings, 2 of which were double strike, and then this one, which is single strike. That's 5 possible damage there. All at SCR level of strength, which is kind of nutty. And then you can just stack another one on top if you have more energy. It's crazy. So that's why I kind of like this guy. A lot of people are shying away from it. I just think it's too useful nowadays. Plus it's a 4-drop. A lot of negates, or a lot of counterplays hit 3 drops and less nowadays. So it's kind of helpful to get around that kind of stuff if we're ever in that kind of matchup. Next, got 3 of the Gohan. The only reason I run 3 and not 4 is just because it's hard to get out early and it's not super useful all the time. A lot of stuff will pop it or kill it in some way or even counterplay it, so it's kind of hard to get it off successfully and draw the card. It is useful with the neg effect, but 99% of the time you're just playing it on your turn to get a 25k double striker, which is really nice. The good thing is you can play this in junction with your Z card, which is nice because it has the 3 Z costs. But other than that, keeping that much Z energy early game is so difficult, with this build at least, because I'm focused on drawing as many cards and outvaluing my opponent, and then normally I'll awaken on turn 3 to turn 4, just so that way I can have basically a hand of 11 to 12 cards and my opponent's sitting at 6 cards, which happened multiple times in my games. So that's it for the large amount of battle cards. Now we're going on to the smaller numbers. So 2 Broly's. Once again, I always say it, if I have more, I'd play more, and I finally got more. So I'll be bumping this up to 4, which will take the deck total to 52 cards. I also did shrink it down from 54 to 50, which was really nice. It increased the consistency even more, made it super easy for me to draw my super combos, draw my SCR, and always have them ready, which is nice. This card is just useful because it's a 30k crit, which is always nice, and then it's once again a 1 for 2. So you play it, draw a card, bottom it, and then you draw an additional card. Or it's good at removing blockers as well. So if they make a blocker token, you just kill it, and then now they have a crit that they either negate or take. A lot of the times it's good, once again, into the Z card. You burn them to 3, you crit them to 2, and then you swing with the Z card, and that'll help to eliminate how many cards they get in hands. Especially if you just looked at their hand with your Vegito or maybe a Broly or something. It helps to keep their hand knowledge known so that way they don't have any unknowns that they can hit on you. Next, I'm going to talk very shortly about this because I never used it. I always cited it out.
One drop Goku, bond 3, become a 25k until the end of your until the start of your next main phase, and you draw a card when you play it. And then this guy is just a 2 mana dual attack double striker. I gonna be honest, never used them. I really only have them in this list for Hatchiyak, just in case I saw it at some point, due to the fact that everything is so low cost in my deck. I don't have any 8 drops other than my SCR, so I needed something to buff that. And this is a dual attacker double striker, which is kind of nice, so that way it either gets more negates or I get some attacks through. But other than that, really never use these guys. Gonna switch them out for something else, probably like either more gammas or maybe a Cell Max or something, or maybe even give the 8 drop Gohan Beast a try. So it's just something other than these, because these just weren't cutting it.
I think it's cool that you considered Hatchiyak in your side deck. That must be like a perspective as an aggro low to the ground player.
Yeah, it's knowing the weaknesses of your deck and then really compensating for them. So if you know that you have a really bad matchup, it's always good to just give a couple slots, especially now that things have shifted to a best of 1 preset format. Your deck is now however many cards you make it, so it can be 50 cards plus 15 at all times. So you always have to consider the decks that you know you're going to struggle against. Like, I know I struggle against hand control early just due to the lack of cards that I get from my leader, since it doesn't draw on swing, it only draws on play. So I'm always giving up a card to draw a card. So I have to be cognizant of that. So I run like anti-hand control cards, for instance. And then I know in the mirror, for instance, that I will get into a little bit more once I talk about my side, I run Violent Rage, because Violent Rage shuts this deck down pretty well because of the fact that all of their big monsters that they want to play are so strong. They're 40Ks plus, so a lot of the times you can stop their turn pretty easily for 1 mana and a discard. And then you can discard Koitsukai, for instance, because I know a lot of people know it, but Koitsukai is really good into this, because you just Koitsukai and they can't play anything on your turn. So it's pretty brutal.
Pretty cool. All right, let's continue.
Yep.
Well said, though.
Yeah. Some one-ofs, obviously. I took out the Toa. I really never used it, and this is just more valuable to me, honestly. It's a 30k swing, it gets rid of a blocker negate, and it's just a big guy. So that's why I have that instead of the Toa. Not to mention the Toa costs an energy. This is free, so that's a big thing. Using energy as efficiently as possible. Obviously the Vegito, don't play anything else. If you're playing that new SCR that came out in the anniversary box, I fear for your life. This guy's just broken. Look at your hand, become a 25k until the end of your opponent's turn, and this game's quad strike. You don't even need to connect with it. Just the threat of it forces a negate out, and then your leader's a 25k swing, so they're either giving up a crap ton of cards in their hand, or you're getting a swing in, and you're drawing a card. I mean, it's just useful. And then obviously this card. 1 mana negates that play for free is becoming a huge thing in the meta right now. So this is huge. It comes up a lot. I've used it a couple times in the tournament. It's really useful. I always have this card at least at a 1 of in the main, and then I have 1 extra in the side just because it's useful. All right, so that's it for battle cards. Now we have the extras. We got obviously 3 of the Life Taker negate. It's still good, even nowadays where there's a lot of removal. Take a life at 5, get a blocker, because some decks do struggle with removing blockers. It just depends on what you're going against, but it's still a good card. Next, Sparking Negate. This is a little bit harder, especially now that I don't have the mill to get off early, so a lot of the times I won't have the Sparking until later into the game, or if I'm going against a aggro.
Or in Mexico.
See ya, Ivo. Or if I go in against a aggro matchup, I have a lot of cards and drops, so these will become useful. Plus, it's good into other decks that run small dudes. And something that I didn't mention earlier, but the pan card procs off of any increase of power on any of your cards. So this is now free. You take a life and you do this, increase your leader's power, and you draw off of this and neg something.
Awesome.
So you can neg 30 off of these 2 cards. And that's before, so if they have something that they want to do mid-combat to kill this, you do this, and now you end their combat immediately, basically, if you just kill with the attacker.
That's
so
awesome.
useful, yeah. So anything that increases your leaders of power, which is why I run another card, which I will get to at the last one. So obviously 2 King Vegeta's Imposing Presence. People who run 3, I just don't get it because I only ever need 1. And if I see 2, I'm always bottoming it or discarding it to itself just to get the effect. Because personally, this card isn't that great. Everything's so large nowadays that the -5 really doesn't matter that much. And honestly, I'm thinking about either cutting this to 1 or maybe even taking it out completely once the new Floodgate comes out, just because it's so useful. Sure, this is free, but like I said, it's just not that great nowadays. It's good for killing stuff that are like low to the ground, like if somebody's attacking with a Beerus and I throw this at them, then sure, but most players are smart enough not to do that. And then final extra, just a 1-of, Flight of the Grand Eagle. You build a board now so much that you can get this off for free pretty easily. And once again, it increases your leader's power by 1,000. So once again, it is free. You draw a card, next something 20. It's just super useful text.
Man, this card just really changed the face of this deck.
Yeah, and this is with any red deck. So whatever red deck you play, if you can increase the power of something on your field, any card, even a unison, this will trigger, draw you a card, next 20 something.
That's so powerful.
It's so broken. I don't know what they were thinking.
I'm glad it doesn't have protection. That keeps
Yeah,
it in check.
yeah. It's also a 3-drop, so it's easy to counterplay. It's a 15k, you know, nothing crazy. All right, here we got side deck stuff. So a lot of this is very specific, and I'll explain it. So we have 2 Vegito Unison of Might. This is primarily for the cooler mill matchup, due to the fact that it got some pretty crazy support in the anniversary set. I kind of expected more of it. The only person who was playing it was actually Mike, to my knowledge, and maybe one other person, so I never really saw the matchup. But it was still useful. I used it in a side event, and it came in really clutch, helped me win the side event. But other than that, that's why this is in here. This guy, however, is multi-versatile. This is super useful into Cooler and Gogeta, because on your opponent's turn 4, your turn 3, since I awaken on turn 3 most of the time, it's 1 mana instead of 2, and you still draw a card because she still hits all cards, not just red cards, so you will still draw off of this. So you pay 2, you name Gogeta 8-drop, they no longer have a turn 4 play, they can't play their SCR, they can't play their 8-drop, their other 8-drop, and I had an opponent in the last regional online. I did this to him. His turn 4 was nothing. He literally just played, I think he played nothing, and then he passed. So his turn 4 literally did nothing, and then I just killed him.
Awesome.
Yeah, so this card is super good. I honestly don't know why people aren't running more of it, because there's so many cards in the game nowadays that have the same cost and same name. Like for instance, Cooler, it has 3 cards nowadays that are 5-drop coolers that you can hit off of this. It has the Triple Striker, the old Arrival Cooler, and the new Arrival Cooler. All 5-drop coolers. You name them, they lose 12 cards in deck possibly.
Yeah.
It's insanely useful.
That is wild, yeah. What a great pithing needle.
Yeah. Obviously 2 Deburros for the hand control. This card literally says pay 1, draw 3 cards.
That's nice.
And then if you, once again, have this card, it says pay 1, draw 4 cards, and make one of your opponent's cards dead.
Yeah, that's correct.
Super broken. Love this card. I'm going to keep talking about it because it's so broken. 2 Violent Rays, as I was saying earlier. This card is super good into certain matchups. 1, it's good into the Mirror. 2, it's good into Meki, actually, which was another deck that I play tested against. And it's good into Gohan and Gobros, because they all play 30k or bigger. So you just play this, discard a card, discard a Koitz, for instance, and boom, you're set. Their opponent just can't do anything for their turn, and they have to pivot into something else, which is not what they want to do, which is important, because throwing your opponent off their game plan helps you to continue your game plan of gaining advantage and killing them.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with the nerf, Violent Ray still seeing play. It's cool.
Yeah, it's because they made everything bigger now. Everything was 20Ks back in the day. Now everything's 30Ks. Obviously, 2 Koitsukai, you need it. Like I said, it's good into the Mirror. It's good into any blue or yellow deck. They play something, you have Koitz, they warp 2 cards from hand. I was playing against Frieza Swap. The kid used like 3 negates. He had to warp 6 cards from hand. I felt so bad
That's
for him.
brutal.
Yeah, it's just a good card.
Yeah, what a meta-defining card, honestly. Right now.
Truly. I don't understand why they haven't done anything to it. And then we got 2 Beerus Ball, just in case it's good against yellow. You know, I'm all about hating on negates. Other than that, it's pretty useful into my opponent's turn too. I used it on my opponent's turn to stop a Poutine. I forget what, I think they were playing Yellow Bardock actually. Yeah, I was playing Yellow Bardock's crew. I used this to counter their Poutine, so that way they didn't get it on the field, and I got a 5k buff for the turn, and since I was unawakened, I now became 15k, which basically made me awakened, so it made it a lot easier to survive their turn, and then awaken on my turn to put more pressure on them. So that was kind of nice. And then 2 Broly's. A lot of people keep an energy open nowadays. Even now, it's still pretty useful. Into the Mirror, some people are still running topos for some reason. So if they keep 2 energy open, you can just rip their topo out of their hand. Or if you don't care about the topo, you can just rip something else that's important out of their hand. It's pretty useful. It's not a bad card. It's always something that people will consider, and they'll always be conscious of it. So even if you don't run it, people will still be cognizant of how much energy they're holding up and try to work around it. So it's kind of like Beerus Destroys, how people were playing around it for a little bit, trying not to have 2 drops on the field to get taken away for free by the Beerus Destroys. So I mean, it's the same effect with this. So even if I didn't have it on the side, I guarantee you people would play against it. And then obviously the one of King Vegeta, like I said, free negates, free negates, free negates, counter, counter. It's so useful. I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've used this card and it's won me games. It's just too good. So just have one in the main, one on the side, just to make sure, especially against Gohan.
Yeah. Sounds like you put a lot of time into this deck. That's
oh
good.
My god, I took a lot of L's to make this.
That's good, man. That's how we grow.
Yeah. So a couple one-ofs. We got one of the surmounting, and then one of this guy. This guy is going to be pretty important once the floodgate comes out. I use it sometimes, not all the time. It's useful into some matchups, especially if it's going slower. You can kind of get this out pretty easily and not have to worry about losing value on it. But other than that, if I'm really going faster and I'm trying to kill them quickly, I'll just leave it and I won't play it. So it's a useful card. It's a useful tool sometimes. It's one of those niche little situation type things. Obviously, finally got my 3 silver foils. So you got to run 3 of these bad boys. Card's just good. I maybe not play it all the time, but I play it pretty often. It's still a really broken card. 3 mana, 40k dual attack, double strike. I mean, it's SCR level power. It's pretty dang good. A lot of the times though, stuff that ends your turn, so like Nimbus and stuff like that, are getting very, very popular. So a lot of the times I might omit this just to play a bunch of little guys to draw more cards and get a bigger hand and to pretty much just outvalue my opponent and beat them overall, maybe in the next turn. And then finally, 2 Vegetas. Once again, high rarity stuff is fun. It makes you play better, obviously. 2 Rush Attack Vegetas. It doesn't come up all the time just due to the fact that a lot of effects get around deflect nowadays. But it's just a useful card, right? So especially if your opponent is running a Unison, your deck doesn't really have a whole lot of stuff that hits Unison like the Sin Shinron red deck did. So this kind of helps buff that a little bit, so you can kind of neg their Unison as you're swinging at their face, which is nice. And plus, if you do have enough Z energy, you can just make this a 30k double strike barrier big dude. And something that a lot of people seem to forget is that Pan has an activate main as well as a once per turn auto. So you can play this, get the auto, become a 20k, activate main, make this a 25k, swing, it's a 30k single, and then you activate it, it becomes a 35 base, and then you swing for 40k double.
That's really strong under Pan.
Yeah, it's just, there's so many effects. I'm waiting for them to print another 2-drop Z card that you can play in this deck pretty efficiently. I'm just waiting for it. And once they do, then probably one of these gets swapped out into something else. But that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing. It was a fun event, had a great time. Always love playing with the boys. Always love meeting new people and learning new things. So had a good time. It was fun.
All right, any shout outs to anybody before you?
Obviously, shout out to the gang, shout out to the crew, shout out to Fo, PPG, and all of them. Shout out to all of the people that I played against, all of them being good people and being good folks about it. There were a couple mess ups that I will admit that I did just because, you know, I'm tired at the end of the day, and it happens, you know, we're all human, stuff happens, you know. There's no big mess up, you know. Just gotta live with it and learn from it and keep playing, you know. We're all a big, happy family community, you know. Everybody loves playing this game.
Sounds good, man. Hope to see you at Nats.
Hell
See
yeah.
ya. Bye.
See ya.